To wrap up, I'd like you to give a message to those who are going to work in crisis management to talk about the importance of professionals who understand the mechanisms to both prevent and handle crises, whether in companies or even in personal situations.
Look, the most important thing I could say is that we really need to go back and examine the very origins of the field of public relations. We should consider when it first arrived in the country, back in the year 1953, and when it was formally introduced to the Brazilian School of Public Administration at the prestigious Getúlio Vargas Foundation. In other words, dealing with image, dealing with reputation, dealing with crises, these are not minor or peripheral issues. They are central matters of governance. So, ultimately, we will be less focused on communication and more focused on management. We need to get closer, without any prejudice, to the numbers people, the controllers, the economists, the administrators, those who run the business. And let's leave the waiting room. As I like to say, let's stop just handling press releases and crises. We need to be part of the decision making because the communications professional on the board of directors can prevent a decision, naturally, before it actually materializes. Look, this factory in this neighborhood is going to create a crisis with the surrounding community. Should we move to another neighborhood? A communications person thinking about this, but that's what they're paid to do, to think about public opinion. They're not a lawyer who's thinking about contracts, nor a financier who's thinking about the numbers. They're thinking about the press, the repercussions, the invasion of that community. So they have every ability to anticipate because they were trained for this. They're a social scientist. I often notice this, that we in academia are applied social scientists. And that was done to put us in the background compared to anthropologists, sociologists, and political scientists. But I tell my students, look, we are social scientists, period. You have to debate with sociologists, lawyers, economists as equals. And show that from a decision-making perspective, it's important to have a communication component. And that's where the specialist is needed. That's the final message I want to leave.
Thank you, Professor, for your words.
Thank you so very much. I really appreciate it.